From an airplane's parachute saving the day after the engine stalled, and a fishing boat in Thailand that sailed right into a massive ferry, to a pair of cranes in the Netherlands that couldn't handle the heavy load, and a water tower in Wisconsin that had seen better days. Here are 10 expensive fails caught on camera. Memphis is the second most populated city in Tennessee after Nashville. It's home to about 633,000 people and 5 Class I railroad operations. On September 10th of 2020, 2 of those operations teamed up to deliver a train full of new cars. Train cars from Norfolk Southern and Canadian National were carrying about $2 million worth of brand new Fords. During transit, the train attempted to pass under a low bridge. Normally, dispatch will communicate if the bridge is too low. That way, the engineer can find another way around it. After seeing this video, we're thinking someone was asleep at the controls.
Jesus Christ.
It is oddly satisfying to watch the bridge rip off the roof like a can opener. Things get a little awkward when our cameraman peers over the bridge and sees all the damage. You might think this train was hauling a bunch of wrecked cars to the junkyard. Unfortunately, those were brand new Ford Explorers and Lincoln Nautiluses ready to hit the sales floor. About $2 million worth. When the video starts, you can already see a part of the roof torn up. We're thinking it got caught on something further down the track, which caused an expensive chain reaction. Since trains don't grow and bridges don't sink, generally, this accident might be chalked up to bad luck. At least that bridge was built Ford tough. Far out in the rural countryside of Indiana lies a place called Switz City. With under 300 total inhabitants, there's not exactly a whole lot going on here. One of the most common occupations in the area is corn farming, and it's on one of these farms where this video was captured. Back in July of 2017, a man named Jordan White was working at his family farm when he received word of a situation going on at their storage silos. When he arrived to see what it was, he was faced with a shocking scene. One of the silos was damaged and about to collapse. When it finally did, it was a lot crazier than he could have imagined.
It's leaning, grain's coming out of the side of it now. It's falling more.
Get back, Dad!
Get back, Grandpa! Get back! Get back! Drop pipe just fell off of it.
Well, even it fell off and it didn't drag the leg down. There's 10,000 bushel of grains on me on the cut now.
There she goes. God dang. There it goes. Yeah.
Thankfully, the fireball subsided rather fast, so none of the family ended up getting caught in the blaze. According to them, the loss of the silo would take approximately 2 months to repair due to difficulties obtaining the necessary materials as well as contracting workers. Of course, this isn't including the loss of all that corn, which we're sure wasn't cheap. Ko Chang is one of the largest islands in Thailand. It sits in the Gulf of Thailand, close to the Cambodian border. Most of the island is covered by Muko-Chang National Park. It's a preserve full of hiking trails, stunning waterfalls, and beautiful beaches. On February 13th of 2023, an Australian couple got comfy on a ferry traveling from Koh Chang to the mainland. That's when Tom and Andy Hauser saw something they didn't expect. A fishing boat was heading right for them. The crew scrambles to inspect the damage, though there's not much they can do. Somehow, the boat didn't sustain enough damage to sink. Luckily for the massive ferry, the wooden trawler bounced off and drifted away. Those on board were shocked, but ultimately fine. Tom couldn't believe what he just saw. He thinks the captain may have fallen asleep or been under the influence at the wheel. We're leaning toward the first option. Honestly, how do you not see a giant ferry crossing in front of you? The Dutch city of Alphen aan den Rijn sits on the banks of the old Rhine River. The name translates to Alphen on the Rhine, but we'll just call it Alphen. It's an old city dating back to ancient times. In fact, Alphen pretty much marked the northern edge of the Roman Empire. On August 3rd of 2015, a pontoon floated down the Rhine carrying two large cranes. They were trying to hoist a section of the old Juliana Bridge. Someone must have miscalculated. The people screaming sound like something out of a disaster movie. According to The Guardian, the cranes and bridge landed on 5 houses and 2 shops along the river. Early reports estimated that up to 20 people could have been inside. Thankfully, only one needed medical treatment. Everyone else escaped with minor injuries. A crowd had gathered to watch the cranes move the piece of the bridge. They scattered like mice when the expensive heavy machinery fell. A 2010 survey of the Juliana Bridge found it was in poor condition. Renovations began in the spring of 2015, but the crane collapse set them back several months. Sint-Michiels is a tiny town in the Belgian province of West Flanders. They were known for car and bus manufacturing throughout the 20th century. But on July 15th of 2022, Sint-Michiels was concerned about a different mode of transportation. It was around 2 p.m. The sky was clear, a great day for flying. That is, unless you're this unlucky pilot. Witnesses on the ground said they heard a noise in the sky. When they looked up, they couldn't believe what they saw.
Oh. Hier, kom, vluchten. Daar, kijk. Oh shit.
Kijk, een vliegtuig.
Oh, what the fuck? Nee. Oh shit. Nee. Oh shit. Nee.
Miraculously, the pilot walked away with only a few bumps and bruises. We're not sure what went wrong. All he said was that he lost control of the plane. When that happened, he deployed his Ballistic Recovery System, or BRS. It's basically a parachute that prevents the plane from smashing into the ground. It doesn't take a genius to realize the BRS saved his life. His plane was a Dynero MCR-01, a two-seat carbon fiber light aircraft. Small personal planes like this can cost between $15,000 to $500,000. It all depends on the engine. Now, we're not sure how much this plane cost, but we bet it wasn't cheap. That said, no amount of money is worth the pilot's life. In the small city of Nakusa, Wisconsin, about 2,500 locals waved goodbye to a decades-old landmark. The big blue Nakusa water tower had sat empty for 2 years. Now, we're not sure why this one was scheduled for demolition. It probably just ran its course. Once towers like this get too old, they become expensive to maintain. It's usually cheaper to knock it down and build a new one. It looks like everything went according to plan. The crew cut the bottom perfectly, and the tower fell in the intended direction. It also makes a pretty cool noise on the way down. But not all water tower demolitions run so smoothly. Just ask these guys in Russia. This old water tower used to stand in the Russian village of Kolmina, a small community in the Tver Oblast. Maybe someone should have vetted this demolition crew before hiring them. Hopefully, whoever's truck that was had decent water tower insurance. Another crew arrived later on to remove the wreckage. In case you're wondering, the van was flattened like a pancake. Xi'an is the third most populated city in western China. It's home to nearly 13 million people and centuries worth of ancient history. The city changed hands many times throughout the different eras and Chinese dynasties. In 1370, during the Ming Dynasty, a 7.4-mile wall was built around what remained of the city. That wall still stands today. Well, most of it. Modern Xi'an built itself around the ancient city. But on August 8th of 2020, part of the old wall suffered significant water damage. Days of heavy rain weakened the newly built protective layer. That is about 600 years of history crashing down on modern cars and buses. Thankfully, the only injuries were a few scrapes suffered by people standing close by. Those in the cars and bus somehow escaped unharmed. The locals had known for a while that the ancient wall was on its last legs. They built a rainproof canopy on top and installed a fence around the base. They tried reinforcing the walls between 2007 and 2011, but that clearly didn't work. According to experts, the cultural relic itself wasn't damaged. Those in charge of preserving China's ancient history rushed in to protect the Ming Dynasty landmark. Sanya is one of 4 prefecture-level cities on Hainan Island, China. The city has emerged as a popular tourist destination on the island. The tropical climate attracts visitors from all over mainland China. In fact, the Chinese national beach volleyball team trains there. On March 5th of 2023, the roaring engine of a swanky BMW drew plenty of people to appear in the city. They pulled out their phones to record the driver and listen to the engine purr. What happened next was a humbling lesson in showboating. We don't want to say that's what you get, but that's what you get. Thankfully, the driver was able to escape and swim to shore. Meanwhile, his Beamer sank to the bottom of the bay. If we had to guess, the driver backed his car up to the edge, but never parked it. He kept his foot on the brake while he revved the engine, but forgot he was in reverse. So, when he took his foot off, the car rolled back. You can see people rush to save the luxury car. One guy even grabbed the window. It takes about 30 seconds for the Beamer to sink. It only takes 1 second to make sure you're in park. Every so often, the Israeli military conducts drills in the Jordan Valley. These drills encompass all kinds of military vehicles, even tanks. On November 22nd of 2020, after a successful day of drilling, it was time to head back to base. That meant loading an IDF Merkava tank onto a flatbed truck. It saves on gas, since tanks are super slow and guzzle tons of fuel. But putting it back on the truck was apparently the hardest thing they'd do all day. To add insult to injury, someone allegedly said, "I hope nothing happens," while filming the tank. The stuff you see shooting out the side is the fire defense system. It automatically triggered when the tank flipped over, so at least we know it was working. Thankfully, the driver was okay and only suffered a couple of bumps and bruises. He claims the gas pedal got stuck while loading the tank onto the flatbed. That caused it to jerk forward and roll off the side. One of these tanks alone can cost upwards of $4.5 million. Now, we assume flipping one doesn't mean it's a total loss. If it can't survive that, then what's the point? In Leshan County, China, a building teetered on its last legs after days of heavy rain. Those inside noticed something wasn't right when their home was leaning at a 30-degree angle. 7 people were evacuated moments before the building came crashing down. Thankfully, everyone was clear of the rubble when the building fell. We can't imagine how heartbreaking it must be to watch your home collapse before your very eyes. Now, structural failures like these aren't uncommon in China. Heavy rain can erode the foundation below a building, causing it to lean and fall. Sometimes, people just build homes in gross violation of safety codes. If you enjoyed this video and want to see another just like it, then be sure to click the link on screen now. With that, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.